Hi witches! So it is the day after Yule. I hope everyone had a fantastic winter solstice, and if you are continuing to celebrate over the next couple days, I hope you have a fantastic time. As you guys know, Yule can be celebrated for like 12 days, and a lot of Norse pagans do that. I tend to only do it on the actual winter solstice, but that is completely up to you, and my cat is interrupting us. I am so sorry. Anyways, I wanted to talk a little bit about ancestor work during the holidays because I feel like we really associate ancestor work with Samhain, which is great, and it's definitely a time of year that is very heavily tied to it. But I also think that the holiday season brings up a lot of those memories, those feelings, etc. That one can use in their own ancestor work. Does that make sense? And I really think that like when your family is like kind of coming together and all of that kind of stuff, you really just are kind of reconnected. Some old wounds might be opened, but I think this is also a really great time of year or a great avenue to practice ancestor work. First thing I wanted to do was acknowledge the loss of our loved ones. I know there are a lot of people who have lost family members, friends, either to the pandemic or other things, mental health issues, etc. So I do want to kind of encourage you to have that space or to hold that space for them in your practice and as a time of remembrance around the holiday season. I know it can be really tough when they aren't there necessarily at big holiday events, whether it is Christian or pagan, whatever it is, their absence is real, and it's okay to validate that. I encourage you to allow yourself the space to feel those emotions, whether it's a new wound, an old one, but just to sit with like what you're feeling. Maybe allow that to be an avenue for you to do some shadow work or journal about it. But I find that addressing emotions as they come up and working with those emotions is a good way to kind of connect back to those lost loved ones, and it's a great way to do ancestor work. My next suggestion actually kind of is something that I suggested during Samhain, and that is to spend time with your family if you can. It's similar to, what we said before, but I think it's easier this time of year. If we think about the spirit of the holiday season, whether again, like if you're celebrating Yule or Christmas, whatever it is, it's a time for togetherness. It's a time where we're around our families more, if that is possible for us this year, which I know is kind of like iffy these days, but it's a time of coming together, of sharing things and sharing stories, memories, and just connecting back with your family. So I encourage you to ask your family members about family stories, or just indulge in kind of that sharing of memories and making of memories. I think that's a great way to do some ancestor work. If you are one of those people who doesn't really know a whole lot about your family, but maybe knows a little bit about your background, your ethnic background, your religious background, whatever it is, maybe research some holiday traditions from that area of the world. I encourage you to do the research on that. It's okay if you can't necessarily talk to your family. You are still able to kind of connect to the place that you came from, and by indulging in some of the traditions that go along with it and learning about it and taking those traditions and applying them to your practice. I think that's a really great way to honor your ancestors, your ethnic background. This can include recipes, decorations, practices. There's more things out there than you think. So I really encourage you to do so. Next thing on my list is to start a new tradition of your own, which I know sounds a little bit weird, but I think that if you have children, this is a really great way to tailor something to their interests that ties into maybe something from your youth or possibly your new spirituality. So like making wassail or a Yule cake, or maybe even doing Elf on the Shelf to learn about the Fae. I think that by establishing these new traditions, it kind of like secures your like legacy as you then become an aunt. Does that make sense? Like you'll become an ancestor, and your children and your children's children and so on and so forth might talk about, aunt whoever or mom, like grandma whoever. And I think that's really beautiful. So I want to encourage people to look at ancestor work, not from just like looking at the past and looking at people who've passed us, but what legacy that we're going to leave as we pass into, death. By digging up old recipes, you can really connect with the people who may have made them. I have a cookbook with my grandmother's handwriting all over it, and it's like one of my prized possessions. So by having their recipes handed down to you, you can kind of make these intentionally to honor them, and maybe even give some of the food to your ancestors, put it on your ancestor altar that you may or may not have built back in October as an offering. So for me personally, the things that I do to remember my ancestors or to connect back with my family roots, number one is to make Christmas cookies from my great grandmother's German recipe. So we make a Stollen, which is kind of like a bready cakey thing. It's really good. And then we also do this really specific cookie that always reminds me of Christmas time or like Yuletide stuff. And I'm gonna butcher this because it is in German. So again, if there's anyone out there who speaks German, I am so sorry. But it's called the Braune Lebkuchen. And they're really, really good. They're kind of like a soft gingerbread cookie with like a glaze on them and then like chopped up nuts and fruit. They're super amazing. They have cinnamon and nutmeg and it's fantastic. So whenever I have them, I think about spending time with my family and like a simpler time, and I connect back to kind of those roots, which are like very far removed from me personally, but I think it's good for me to do, and I enjoy doing it. Next, we watch a lot of the same movies, and yes, this is gonna sound really silly, but I love the movie The Christmas Story, or A Christmas Story. I never know which one it is. And we watch that every year, and it's something that my mom loves. It's like her favorite movie. So even though it's not really even about like Christian Christmas. So if you haven't seen it, it's really cute. And it's one of my mom's favorite movies. I watch it every year. It's kind of a tradition. And then with my fiance's family, they have a lot of other traditions as well, such as like having sauerkraut, because they're also very like German. And they have specific little things that they do on like Christmas Eve. So I'm really happy that I'm going to be able to engage with that. Even though it's not really my religion, I think it is good to be open and understanding and still participate. And they're very respectful of me, of course. Like they're like not expecting me to, like change my religion or anything. So it's just nice to be included, and I'm excited about that. So yeah, those are some ways that we can connect to our ancestors during the holiday season. Again, I know we talk about it a lot during Samhain, but I think this is a really great time of year to kind of connect back to your family and to your roots. So I hope that you can continue the healing that you started in October when it comes to ancestor work and the progress that you're making. Oh my gosh, it's amazing, I'm sure. So yeah, I hope that helps, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.